I went on a tour around East Africa in 2024, visiting countries like Kenya, Rwanda, and Uganda. But many people told me I forgot to visit one essential country. Tanzania has always been on my travel wish list for years, but I've not gotten around to visiting because of a couple reasons. Whenever I post videos from Kenya or other East African countries, many people come to my comments and DMs telling me about the amazing things happening in Tanzania and all I'm missing out on by not visiting. I plan to settle the argument once and for all when I visit both Tanzania and Kenya later this year, giving you an in-depth breakdown on why you should visit either country. Kenyans and Tanzanians are always going at it on Twitter, and I laugh my head off whenever I come across one of your online feuds. I barely understand most of what is being said because of language barriers, but the bans are unmistakable. I'm making this video from a place of love and as a guidance to potential visitors. I've been to Kenya, so most of the footage in this video will be from my trip to the country and neighboring countries. You might agree with most of what I share in this video, or you might hate this channel in the end, but one thing's for sure, you'll be entertained throughout the video. Let's talk about the largest cities in each country. Nairobi is one of the most exciting cities I've been to and one of the most developed, if I'm being honest. The people are amazing, especially the people I got to hang out with. I stayed with an old friend and my friend and their family were amazing, going to show that Kenyans are actually great people. This is not me glazing, it's just my reality. The vibe in the city is very contemporary, it's very fast, people are trying to do stuff. At the time I went, it was a couple months before the Gen Z protests, so it was obvious that lots of people were unhappy. You could see it in the air, but I couldn't pinpoint what I was saying. Kenya uses the Kenyan shillings, and at the time I went, it was about 154 shillings to 1 USD, but at the time of this video, it was closer to 130. It's one of the stronger currencies in the region. Kenya Airways is the largest airline in the country, and I believe it's the government airline. Odds are if you are visiting the country, you might use this airline. My experience was okay. It wasn't great, it wasn't bad, it was just very standard. Dar es Salaam is Tanzania's largest city. The major difference that my Tanzanian friends can point out between Nairobi and Dar es Salaam is the climate. Dar es Salaam is on the Indian Ocean, while Nairobi is in the middle of the country. I met a couple Tanzanians on my trips around East Africa, and these are some of the kindest and most amazing people I've ever met. There was a bit of a language barrier sometimes because Tanzanians speak more Swahili than English, but these people are so amazing. If I were to describe the Tanzanian vibe, I would say calm with a sense of intensity, especially when it comes to things like football and nationalism. I can't wait to go to the city later in the year and experience it myself. The Tanzanian shilling is quite a bit weaker than the Kenyan shilling, but it's not the weakest shilling in the neighborhood. Air Tanzania is the largest airline in the country, but it's smaller than Kenya Airways. I hope to fly on the airlines while I'm there if I'm able to. Please like and subscribe if you're enjoying the video. It helps the channel grow and helps YouTube recommend more content like this to you. Mombasa is one of the most amazing places you can visit, and it's famous for its white sand beaches and its tropical lifestyle. Your trip to Kenya is incomplete without taking a ride down to Mombasa. Diani Beach is technically not a part of Mombasa, but close enough that both areas operate as one. When you go out there, ensure you go to Diani Beach. I don't need to convince you. You'll come back here and tell me thank you for putting you on. The port of Mombasa is also one of the largest and most important on the continent because it services not just Kenya but neighboring countries. There are quite a few landlocked countries in the area. I would describe Mombasa Diani as a new experience unlike any other. Whatever that means, there's only one way for you to find out. The most amazing place in my opinion in Tanzania would be Zanzibar. To be honest, Zanzibar is the main reason why I've always wanted to visit. I was inches away from visiting in 2021 but had to cancel because of an exam. Zanzibar Island is insane, and I hope that when I do visit, all I've seen online lives up to expectation, because if it doesn't, I'm going to fight somebody. I don't know who, but I'm going to fight. Zanzibar isn't connected to the mainland, so it's not as easy to get to as I would say Mombasa. You can use a train or drive to Mombasa, but for Zanzibar you either flying or you coming through a ferry. The ferry is cheaper, but I've never been in open water for that long and I don't know how it's gonna be. You also need to pay for Zanzibar specific health insurance when you go there, which is insane to me. I heard it's about $44 or $50. It depends on who you ask. Dar es Salaam also has one of the biggest spots in the neighborhood, and I believe there's a bit of competition between Mombasa and Dar es Salaam to see which would be more important to the landlocked countries in East Africa. If I were to describe what I imagine Zanzibar to to be, I would say, paradise on the Indian Ocean, and I hope it lives up to expectations in a few months. Please consider supporting my work by joining this channel as a member or gifting super thanks. If that's too much, you can consider subscribing and liking this video. However you choose to support, just support. Thank you as you do so. To answer the question of what country is the East African giant, I would say Kenya has the larger economy by quite a bit. I've been to the country and the infrastructure is quite good, with asterisks, because that's in comparison to other African countries. I don't know how it compares to international countries. When it comes to sports, we all know that Kenyans are good at what they are good at. When it comes to road racing, no country comes close. I would also say that Kenya has a bit of influence on its neighbors, especially the landlocked countries that are close to it. Many countries see Kenya as a sort of neighborhood big brother, and that's evident in the number of refugees that Kenya hosts from neighboring countries. It also has a population of more than 50 million people. I don't want to be specific because I got a lot of conflicting results when I searched for the population numbers. Moving on to Tanzania, the country has a large-ish economy when compared to most other countries in East Africa, only being beaten out by Kenya. I don't know what the infrastructure is like, but I've seen enough content from the country to be impressed by the strides being made with building out its railway system. In terms of preparation for AFCON 2027, Tanzania probably is the most ready out of all three countries, and they might end up hosting it alone or with Uganda. Tanzania isn't known for being great at one sport like Kenya is, but their local football or soccer league has been growing significantly in recent years. They are now more competitive on the continent in terms of club football, but it hasn't really translated to international football. In terms of influence on its neighbor, I don't know if I would say Tanzania has a lot of influence. They definitely have some influence on their neighbors, and with a population close to 70 million, they are one of the larger countries on the continent. On my next trip to Kenya, I look forward to visiting the Masai Mara National Park. I decided to go on my first safari in Kenya because for my research, Kenyan safaris are more fairly priced than their Tanzanian counterparts. I don't know why that's the case, but I'll take it. I also want to visit Mombasa and Diani Beach. With a focus on Diani Beach, I have heard a lot and I'm beginning to feel like I've been missing out. Time to find out what all the hype is about, and I want to fully experience the so-called Nairobi nightlife. I've heard a lot about how amazing it is, how crazy it can get, but I don't believe it until I really experience it fully, and I hope I'm not disappointed when I finally experience it. And I want to visit the country more intentionally. I want to travel on the SG, I want to travel on roads, I want to basically just travel as much as I can within the country without flying, just seeing the terrain. I look forward to quite a number of things in Tanzania, and I'm beginning to get scared that I don't run out of time and, more importantly, money. Obviously Zanzibar. I might not fly into Zanzibar because I have friends in Dar es Salaam, so I'll probably fly into Dar and then cross into Zanzibar. I keep imagining and dreaming of what that first experience, that first day would be like on the island. And then I also learned about the new train line between Dar es Salaam and Dodoma. I believe I want to experience it so I can use it to visit other cities and document my experience. Tanzanian nightlife. I've not really heard a lot about this compared to Ugandan and Kenyan, but I also want to experience it for research purposes. And wildlife. I'm trying to figure it out, but I want to enjoy Tanzanian wildlife without paying to go to one of their overpriced national parks. Tanzania is a bit bigger than Nigeria at over 1 million square kilometers. I don't want to run out of time because that's a large country to experience, but I believe, and I'm not giving up, we're gonna do it. I'm going to carry you all along throughout the experience. Thank you for sticking with me so far. Now I need your honest recommendations from your point of view as a Kenyan or Tanzanian or someone that lives there or has visited. What are some places you think I should visit within the city or outside the city? Please be as specific as possible. I might not be familiar with the areas, and then tell me what the experience is like so I can know if it's something I'll be interested in. I want to hear from you because I want to have genuine local experiences, but make your suggestions realistic in terms of price and accessibility. I don't want to have to travel for 2 days to get to somewhere or spend all my budget in 1 day. Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania are planning to host the AFCON in 2027, but the last few months have shown that this might not be the case because most of the countries are not ready. Can we expect to come to your country and enjoy football in 2027, or should we start planning to go elsewhere? Whatever the case is, you are about to have the time of your life with me in East Africa in a few months. Click the video on screen now. I made it specifically for you. Until the next video, your friend from the Ukodo YouTube channel wishes you love, peace and prosperity.